So I just showed you how to do a multi-stage build with a Node.js application, right? So what I'm going to have you do now is I'm going to have you do a multi-stage build with like a static website. It's this one down here that's called Static Assets Project. So here's all the instructions, and then if you see right here it says scroll down to see my answer, I just put like a big space, and if you scroll all the way down here, it will show you the answer. It's also in that GitHub repo that I showed you earlier. So how many of you are familiar with Create React App? I imagine many of you, right? If not, there's a great course on Masters that's called The Complete Intro to React version 5. Or like you don't have to do any of the React parts of it. We're just going to use Create React App to scaffold out a project for you. So let's actually just go ahead and get started. I'll get you up and running with the React portion of this, and then I'll leave you to build the actual Docker file. See, the idea here is that we're going to create a Create React app. We're going to build that into a built project, right? And then we're going to copy all those files into an Nginx container, and the Nginx container is going to serve all of our static assets for us. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to just copy this because it's really long. npx, this is going to run Create React App. They recently, probably last week, changed how Create React App works, so I had to totally change this. It's a good thing I tried this last night, because that would have been real embarrassing. The React teacher doesn't know shit about React. I mean, might be true. Who knows? All right, so we're going to go back in. What are you doing? Stop that. All right, so I'm here in my Intro to Containers project, right? And I'm going to run that command that I said in there, which is going to run it off of npm directly. It's going to run Create React App. It's going to create a project called Static Assets Project. And it's going to be the TypeScript version, and we're not going to use Yarn. Why are we going to use TypeScript? It's another ploy for me to get you to use more Microsoft products. Actually, I just want to show you as involved as a build process as possible, right? And that it doesn't actually really matter. So this will take a couple minutes to get everything set up. If you get a note that says you don't have a template associated with your project or something like that, which is what I was seeing when I was doing this last night, uninstall your global installation of Create React App. That's what eventually solved it for me. This ignore existing hopefully should sidestep that for you. But if it doesn't, that's how I was eventually able to solve the problem. Okay, this will take maybe, I'm going to guess 30 more seconds to get through. So this is going to go install a React project that uses TypeScript. And then just for fun, you and I are going to go put in Sass as well, just to have a bunch of dependencies. Yeah, so you'll see here in my notes, I have this where it says optional. I'm going to do this, but you can totally skip this if you're not feeling it or if something breaks for you. But the reason why I'm putting this in there is if you run the node modules and the npm install locally, this will break when you copy it in the container because it'll build it for Mac or for Windows, and it won't build it for Linux. Unless you're on Linux, then I don't know how to break your computer. I could try. What is going on here? Oh, that's nice of you. All right, there we go. Happy hacking. So now if we go into the Static Assets project, you'll see here you have a relatively full project here. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to create a Docker ignore. And let's open and edit that Docker ignore file, because that won't come by default. Inside of here, so you can also just come in here and say new file, Docker ignore, right? We're going to ignore .git directories, and we're going to ignore node module directories. And we'll also ignore, yeah, anyway, that's fine. There might be cache in here as well. No, I don't think there is. Anyway, so we'll do that first, okay? The next thing I want you to go in here is I want you to say npm install, this is the optional part, node-sas. And then while that's doing that, we're going to come in here and we're going to rename our source file. So there's app.css. Just right-click on that and say rename. And just put an S in front of that CSS. So this is not a Sass class. I'm not teaching any Sass. And I'm not even necessarily endorsing the use of Sass, right? I don't use it myself anymore, but all CSS is valid Sass, or valid SCSS, right? So that's why that you're able to just change it without changing anything inside of it. So rename both of these to be s.css. And then in 2 places you need to go change. So app.tsx, just change that to SCSS there on line 3. And then on index.tsx, same thing here, SCSS. Okay, so now we have a Sassified project as well. So it's TypeScript, it's Sass, so there's a lot of dependencies flying around here, right? So just to make sure that everything works, we're going to say npm run start, I think is what it is. And our project should start locally in like the development mode. I might still have something running on port 3000. Still starting. There we go. There you go. So pretty vanilla Node project here, right? Or not Node, but React. Little did you know this is actually the complete intro to React v6, and we're starting now. Just kidding. That would be an intense course. Containers all the way to React and back to containers. Challenge accepted. That's all you need to know about React for this particular piece of the course. So go ahead and stop that server. So the way that you build this project is you're going to say npm run build, right? This is a note to take because it's probably going to go into your Docker file, right? And this will go through and this will actually build everything out into a directory. So it's creating an optimized production build, right? So this is going to generate all of your index.htmls, your CSSs, your JavaScripts. And so now we have this build directory. So if you look inside of your build directory, you can see here, it's got a favicon, it's got an asset manifest, it's got a bunch of stuff in here, right? Then the key here being that you have a static directory, build / static. You can see there's CSS, there's JS, there's media, right? Suffice to say, if you copy the entire build directory across, that's going to be your finally built project. So as such, I want you to go into your Docker ignore inside of your static ASICs project, and we're going to add one more line here to our Docker ignore, and that is going to be build, like that. So that we won't accidentally copy like a pre-built project. Okay, so at this point, this is where I'm going to leave you to do the project. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to have a multi-stage build, right? And you're going to go and you're going to copy in the project, you're going to build the project, right? And then you're going to take that output and you're going to copy it into a Nginx container, right? So the container that I want you to use, if we come back here, I mean, it's anything in here. You can do Nginx latest, you can do Alpine. I think I have it so you can use Nginx 1.17, which I believe is the latest. So if you want to tie it to a proper version, like I've been telling you to do, I think 1.17 is the correct one. Let me just triple check that that's the correct, because I have it written out here. The correct version is Nginx 1.17. So this is the one that I want you to use right there. Okay. And then, so there's a very specific place that you have to copy it, which is here. So copy the built files to user share Nginx HTML. Everything goes into that directory, right? And then don't modify the CMD, because Nginx knows how to start itself, and so you don't want to overwrite that. So if you just copy everything into this correct directory, Nginx will take care of the rest for you.